she was happy when she came back. She was happy to go.
He was the love of my life. I met him.
Stuff like that. It's like you think,
because we're time poor, or for those reasons.
I'd go over it a little bit more on a weekend, something like that. My name's Christine Taylor. I have 3 sons, and my husband passed away 5 years ago. He was the love of my life. I met him on the 1st of December 1963. I went out with him.
My name is Sue Whitehead. I'm 66 years old. My life before I became a carer was pretty typical. I was very busy. I was working for my husband. He was a barrister. Slowly we realised that there were issues. Well, my husband had a number of issues throughout the decade of 2000 to 2010.
I'm Marie McDermott and I'm from Baulkham Hills, and I have 2 beautiful boys. Joseph is 12 years old. He was diagnosed with a brain cancer at 18 months of age. Has a few complex health issues that we really struggle with at times, and but probably our biggest issue with Joseph is that he can't really communicate easily. He really struggles with language. He has single words, but mostly for things like chocolate and cake and things that motivate him a lot. I think when all children are born, I think parents go through this quite extraordinary metamorphosis, and you're driven by something I can't quite explain. The other day Joseph ran across the road because he saw something that excited him, and he doesn't have the impulse control to stop. And so he just bolted across the busy road at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I took off straight after him, and we were both nearly killed. And I didn't even think to look for a car, because your first priority is your child. And I was wondering, what is that about parenting that drives you to protect your children so much?
Before my husband had a stroke, he had a few difficulties himself. He was limited with his vision. He was employed for 24 years at the same job, and when he lost that, because of his poor vision, he had difficulty in finding other jobs. So at that time, it was in 1986, I decided to go back to work, to re-enter the workforce, and worked right up until the day that he had his stroke in 2005. I left work straight away. I was doing it for him and trying to hide how I was feeling, but actually I was screaming inside because I really wanted that job. I loved it, and to have to give it up, that was really hard.
2009 was a big year for our family, and that was when my mother-in-law came to live with us because she'd broken her hip, and we discovered that she was clearly struggling with just simple processing of information. She would talk to herself, but quite loudly and in a strange way, repetitively. My daughter, actually a few years earlier, had had a panic attack when she was about 7, but I didn't realise what it was. So she was also struggling with anxiety and panic disorder. I did reach a point where I couldn't manage on my own. I suppose you adapt to that situation because it's essential. You just get on and do it.
I think that's your hardest job, is to try and keep them motivated to want to go on and to not to feel useless. I think when you have a disabled person, they feel absolutely useless. Like George, from going to caring for his grandchildren, being there for his boys and everything like that, to losing all feeling down one side. And I think the hardest thing was he lost his speech. He couldn't talk. So that was very, very hard for him. He held a lot inside him. You didn't know a lot of what he was going through. But after I cared for him at home for 6 years, we had to have the house all redone, have the doors widened for the wheelchair, have the bathroom and all that done. But you never rest. You never sleep properly. It's like having a baby in the house.
You know, you go from this world of cancer treatment where you're well supported and you've got social workers and oncologists and a team of people sort of buffering you every step of this chemotherapy process, and then you move into the disability world and it's kind of like a wilderness and you've got to fight your way through it, and that's a learning curve that you have to get used to very quickly. If you don't, you really struggle. And I think if you, I think I've got the advantage of having worked in health before, but if I hadn't worked in a healthcare system, or if I had English as a second language, or if I had a disability myself, which many parents do, have children with disabilities and have a disability themselves, I think it would be a really big struggle to navigate the disability system. And now with the rollout of the NDIS, it's become very obvious that the people who can't advocate for themselves or their children that they're caring for, they're the ones that are really missing out most, and they're struggling most of all.
After 6 years, he had another massive stroke, which left him more disabled than he was, where he couldn't turn himself in bed. He had to have, and the doctors just told us as a family that he would have to be cared for 24 hours, and they just couldn't provide the services at home that he required. So we had to make that decision to place him into care, and that was harrowing.
We've had windows broken, 9 of them in fact. Yeah, we used to have a phone line to Magic Glass, and they'd say, "Oh, hello darling, which window is it this time?" And they'd have it all measured up for us and they'd just come out. So it was, yeah, but there's always, the next day you just get on with it and it's a new day and we'll start again.
Yeah, the monetary cost is huge, just huge. So, and there's not really a lot of support out there in that terms. The psychiatrist, for instance, is $300 for a half-hour session. And you got to go like once a fortnight. Yeah, I only get about $80 back, or $100, oh no, $110 back.
I really wish people would stop saying poor Marie, because we've got such a gift with this child. Like, he's so, get emotional. He's the most, he brings so much joy. I think if people could see the remarkableness of this child, and I think most people do, it's just that and I wish people were less fearful of disabilities generally, and I wish people with disabilities had more opportunity to show what they were able to do and what they can bring to the community, because they don't really have those opportunities at the moment, as I think as many as they should have, and I think they need to be able to shine.